Okay, started with a cough, where to go. Part 3 of Every Semicolon. I've chucked on the first couple of videos, chucked them up onto YouTube, and I've just done some posting on a few places. Unity Forum, gamedev.net, which I've been a long time subscriber to. Well, I'm not a paid subscriber at the moment, but and then also on the Wolfire, one of the Wolfire blog comments, I tried to comment in there about it because I talked to guys during David's from Wolfire's live stream of his Mojam game development session. Talked about doing something like this in the chat on that, and it was sort of the motivation in some ways for doing this. So I thought I should post on there to let people know if anyone remembers that from the chat. So I watched some of the videos as I put them on YouTube, check out the quality and that sort of thing, and you know, very frustrating. Yeah, I was up. It was actually last night. I did part 2, and it was very late, and you know, watching myself fumble around is a bit frustrating. You know, doing things that are pretty stupid in some ways. You know, trying to get the rigid body force and that thing going. You know, I was yeah, just what I was doing there was not right, and it was a bit frustrating watching that in the cold light of day. But that's part of this video series, I guess. You know, those things happen in game development, can't really be avoided. So it's good to show warts and all the development process. I'm going to probably do a short video now. I've got a lot of work to do on other projects today, but I did want to get in here and do some stuff. You know, I noticed a few things while I was watching the videos, such as let's go in here. I named a misspelled hierarchy, so I looked at that and I was you know, very unhappy with myself. Let's use the rename. And it was actually something I thought, you know, when I originally thought about making the window for space measure. Yeah, I mean, I've got that in there, draw line, that's cool, but yeah. So I've thrown in the draw line. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Alright, so let's get into it. Quick video, it's a good video. The last one is 4 hours, that's a bit extreme. Let's make this a little bit faster. I'm going to do just something. I'm not sure what it is yet. I've got to pick something. Obviously, following the boulder in is one thing. I looked at the videos and I noticed, you know, I hadn't really been paying attention. But if I come in here and shoot, the size of everything is a bit extreme. I mean, that doesn't look too bad. The rate of the movement. I think the we'll probably get the art assets resized at some point. 20-meter catapult is probably a bit extreme, and I'm not really sure exactly scale of everything yet, how it's going to work. You know, if you play something like, you know, obviously this has got some similarities to, again, Angry Birds. It's not just about hitting something; it's about aiming at a particular thing. So a platform of this size, and with that sort of distance to cover, you know, you've got this space here to fail in. You've got, you know, beyond, as far as, you know, whatever the extents are of your shots, and you've got this space where things can happen. If the bullets are coming fairly straight, not really downwards as you typically get in that sort of gameplay, then you're not really getting to aim at something. I can't really hit something at the back here without going through stuff. So, I mean, that's where the different. That's not the intention for the final gameplay. I mean, obviously, different weapons are going to do different things. So, a ballista, he's going to shoot fairly straight. I'll aim it and shoot up this way, or shoot this way. It'll have, you know, again, gravity will affect the ballista, whatever they're called, bolts, arrows, something. And a catapult. Yeah, I'll probably, you know, have to start looking at how these different weapons actually, the trajectories of their projectiles. Trebuchet, I would assume, is more of a you know, up and then down sort of thing. So that'll be cool. Probably even if we get cannons in there, it'll be more of a straight shot again. bit more of a power straight shot than the ballista one. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Definitely just going to, it's going to be good one way or the other. I'm not too interested necessarily in accuracy to the equipment. Dwarves make custom equipment that's different than what we're used to in our human world, so they do different things perhaps, or I'll be changing it to service the gameplay as necessary. So, alright, it's our pause scene. You can pause with Control-Shift-P for those unaware, Control-P to toggle playing in the editor. Alright. Blocks. I think this will probably be the thing to do this episode. So I've got block wood. We need to make a script for blocks. So gameplay object. We haven't necessarily. I'm going to throw weapon into gameplay. I'm going to make a block folder and make a new script. Block. Okay, let's give blocks some sort of health. No, not really. We'll make it something. Yeah, okay. So they have a health. They have a max health. So how are we going to do blocks? Let's think about this for a moment. Probably, they're going to be some sort of art asset. Probably not going to be doing any crazy, dynamic destruction, sort of any procedural deformation or cutting things up, and that's over the top for what we're doing, and the platforms are going to, and it's not going to look as good. That's the other thing. I mean, maybe eventually you can make it look as good because of the or make it look better in some ways because it's more dynamic and you get more variation. But let's stick with art asset and variations of that art asset for different levels of destruction of that particular block. So if we have a wood block and it's at 50% health, then it looks like it's been damaged and it's getting closer to fully breaking. So how we go about doing that, we could probably put in I might just make another class here for block damage state, and so we'll have some sort of game object reference to the block prefab for that state. Block graphics prefab, and so I can either put in sort of the range at which that state should be shown, or instead I'll put in sort of the lower or upper extents of it. So probably let me just for now put in min health. Okay, so what I'm going to want to do is have a prefab which has the block script on it, and I want to be able to define a bunch of states for it, and I want to be able to say from 0 to 20 it's this prefab, 20 to 60 it's that prefab, and 60 to 100 it's that prefab. So I mean I can do that with this min health. There might be a nicer way of going about it. Let's stick with this for now. We'll see how we feel. So I'll make an array of block damage state, public array called damage states, and we can come in here now. You'll see that it doesn't show up in the inspector. That's because in Unity it only shows serializable elements here in the inspector. So this class is not hasn't been defined as serializable. Now it is. It should show up here, and you'll see that I can say add 3 states to it. And alright, so let's go to the prefab, yep, block wood, just drag it. It's a tip. I mean, sometimes you want to drag something. I mean, I often do this. I want to drag it into the scene, but I want it to be at 0, or at least, you know, whatever the prefabs position rotation are. And if you've got lots of stuff in your hierarchy, and even if you know, in this case I can collapse everything and I have this big blank space here. Let's say I had lots of objects and it was filling out my hierarchy list, and I can't drag it, you know, I can't just drag it onto nothing, so it's at the root without you know, stuffing around. You can actually just drag it right there onto this bar here, and that will put it into sort of the world hierarchy root. So that's cool. As per usual, I have a bunch of stuff in the way of my block. I can do what I normally do and shift it away and work on it and then shift it back for application. I could also make a new scene and do it in that scene and come back into this scene, but let's just stick with this method for now. So I guess I want to think about whether I want graphics in there by default. So having a prefab, maybe not the best idea in many ways. If you think about it, I have to then instantiate that prefab at runtime. Could cause a little bit of a hiccup. The alternative is to have all the graphics in there all the time and just hidden. I think that would probably be fine for what we're doing, and it, you know, also then gives me the ability maybe to actually this is a curious. No, I was wondering if perhaps I could put 2 mesh renderers on and enable one, disable the other to swap out the materials on a mesh. Not possible. They only allow 1 mesh render at a time, which makes sense. Obviously, if one, you kind of, you don't have both active, but yeah. So maybe I want to have the cube, well, not the cube, but yeah, whatever the final mesh is, and just swap out materials on it for the different states. That's the, you know, I can write code to do that later as well. That's fine. So, alright, I'm going to change what I've done here, and instead of referencing a prefab, I'm going to just reference something on the object itself. So here's my cube. This is going to be the cube healthy. Damaged. Near death. Silly names. Okay. Alright, so yeah, so when I was actually, so going over the videos, man, it's yeah, you can, I would really not recommend this for the faint of heart. You know, it's you don't, you know, so far it hasn't been too bad, to be honest. I mean, if I think about, you know, developing something like this, programming, make lots of, you know, little mistakes, and you tweak things, and you know, maybe some trial and error, and some things, you know, you know the solution, but you just have a brain fart, and you'll go down some road, and you'll just be thinking about something wrong. You'll, for some reason, think, yeah, obviously, yeah, I was watching a video, I'm like, what are you doing, you idiot? You know, obviously, inverse transform direction is not what you want to do, but you know, especially, you know, I think it obviously it's going to be heightened by probably don't want to do that. Obviously it's going to be heightened by this video, because, you know, there's a certain degree of pressure in many ways, which, yeah, I should try to ignore. So it's, yeah, if anyone else is considering doing this, you know, I would think about it very carefully. I don't regret it. I'm actually, it's a great benefit for me for a few reasons. I'm able to work without. I'm keen to do these videos, keen to work, keen to get some feedback, and I'm making pretty decent progress, I think, so far. It's taking longer than it might if I was working flat out without talking and making these videos, but that's spacebar to full screen any window that the mouse is over, which is good. 3.5 allows you to pull out the preview window as well, somehow. Right clicking on it seems to work. If I close it, it should just, yep. So you have to have it open. You can minimize it though like that. So that's pretty cool, pulling out the preview window. It's quite handy. Alright, so anyway, yeah, it's taking a little bit longer, but I'll probably work on it more, so it'll even itself out. So here are my 3 different graphics. I'm going to jump into here, chuck on the block, and make 3 damage states. This one I was working with before, somewhere around here. One of these will now be disconnected from the prefab because I've done a bunch of stuff for it. So here it is now. Let me revert so it's ready to go. So reverting, remove the rigid body. Is that? I'm silly. And I think in the first video I selected all these and applied the rigid body to just demonstrate doing the 3.5 editing multiple objects at the same time thing. I didn't actually apply the rigid body to the prefab. So again, maybe 3.5 magic. I cannot revert them all. Instant management disabled. I'm sure they have a legitimate reason for that, so it doesn't really bother me. But I can probably write an editor window to do that for me. If I choose scripting reference, prefab utility revert prefab instance resets the properties of all objects in the prefab, blah blah blah. All overrides will be cleared, however the position and rotation will never be cleared. That's good. Okay, so I can write an editor window. I'll probably do that shortly, and make it so it reverts all selected prefabs. Get prefab parent. Does it return null if it can't be found? Okay, so that's what I'm going to want to use. Prefab object representation prefab parent query. Yep, that's what we want. Cool, that should be fine. Alright, back to our prefab. So I've got my 3 damage states here. I'm going to chuck in healthy, min health of say 60. Well, let's make it show damage earlier. So damaged and near death. Keep it in the damage state until 20, near death 0. So now we have to do our bit of code for making the damage happen. So I'm going to use Unity's collision stuff. On collision enter on a collider. Okay, so issues there. We don't have a collider on the object the script is on, so let's see what we can do about this. Called when the collider / rigid body has begun touching another rigid body / collider. Not a collider, just from fire. Are only sent if one of the colliders also has a non-kinematic rigid body attached. So it doesn't explicitly say there. I wonder if this will be called on our object here since it has a rigid body but not a collider. I'm going to assume it will. I believe that'll be the case. So let's give that a go. Cool thing is, in more recent versions of Unity's documentation, they've allowed you to choose a scripting language, and it seems like they've gone through most of the code and changed examples to provide C# examples and and apparently Boo examples. I'm not sure who uses Boo, but I'm not, I have no negative opinions on it. Alright, so on collision enter, collision. So this collision class here gives us a bunch of information about the collision that's occurred, so we can get information about the relative velocity, impact force sum, which you can get the contact points, and that has information about the normal of the contact point. Bunch of useful stuff. Good for, if something like normal, good for making maybe decals and things like that. Alright, so what we want to do is get impact force sum. Let's see what the description of that is. They don't give one. One of the frustrating things about Unity is it's it has some stuff in there sometimes, especially in some of the maybe less used systems or more complicated systems, like the terrain system, for example. Tree prefabs, or just the detail objects and stuff like that. There's lots of things in Unity that you can access in the scripting that they don't talk about in the documentation, and that can be a little bit frustrating. And it makes you feel like I shouldn't use that because it's not documented. Maybe it's not a permanently supported feature and is subject to change. So the relative linear velocity of the two colliding objects. So we can probably use this to figure out how hard the object was hit. In this example here, they're using it, they're getting the magnitude of it, and playing in audio when it's a big hit. So let's try to do something similar. Let's say just see what the result is and make some sort of determination based on that. Collision dot relative velocity magnitude. You're getting magnitude from a vector 3, not as fast as squared magnitude, and we'll probably put something in our code here to utilize squared magnitude instead. For now, we just want to log that and see sort of what result we get. So here's our block. I'm going to put it. Let's just make a little play area up here. Something for it to sit on, and we'll make a sphere with a rigid body, top down, so that sphere is above it. It's going to give it a nice solid hit. So let's play that. Alright, so the first hit was it hitting the plane, and the second one was this sphere hitting it. So 2.55 and 18.44. So we're starting to get an idea of what sort of force is going to be applied to these things. Let's see if any sort of mass change affects that. Alright, so we still got 18.44. I might have paused it a little earlier, so I think it bounced on it a bit. Mass change makes no difference. Appears. Let's just run that again and see sort of what happens. Hit. That only hit it once, so apparently changing the mass bounced the cube more, resulting in more cumulative damage. Yeah, so you hit it there and it did it a lot, made things bounce. So in total we received a lot more collisions Let's just test a few more things. Should I put that back to mass of 1? We'll see if scale makes any difference. It's going to make some, but I don't think. We got a couple more, an extra collision there. The initial one wasn't as extreme. So I mean, this is something I'm probably going to just tweak. You could probably do some sort of. Well, yeah, I think it's just a matter of once we develop our different boulders and different projectiles and the different blocks, it's going to be fairly obvious sort of what values we need to set. And we can, I don't want to do anything too realistic. I don't want to go down the path of what's figuring out some sort of maths for how much it should take to break a block of wood. I don't think that's going to be conducive to fun in the end. I think it's better just to throw something in and just tweak values later on until it feels really good. So okay, let's take that out and that out, and we've got our block here. So jumping back into here, let's make some okay, so let's do something fairly basic for now. Let's say just get this graphic changing working. Health minus equals that if health is less than 0, if else is equal to 0. So just clamping that. I'll leave that in here because I might want to at this point trigger some sort of a destroy method. So let's make a method here for setting the damage state. Okay, so set damage state. Let's loop through our damage state. So I'm not going to do too much error handling in here for human error of setting up the states. I'm gonna not in an environment where there's multiple programmers working on this. I know that I should be Control K, Control E, Control K, Control F. Yeah. Alt F8, I believe, is what I used to use. C++. Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to really worry about error handling, human error of other programmers or designers or someone else working on this product, because it's going to be me. So error handling where it makes sense, where I think I might possibly make a mistake or a reference might be lost, something like that. But I don't care about if I was to do something stupid like that have to do with the same value. Just I'll handle that myself. So what I can do in here is just go I want to find, I think, the damage state where the health is sort of within that range. So maybe the quickest way for now will be to find the one with the closest value, min health value that is less than our health. So damage state closest block damage state equals null. Damage state stock length equal to 0, return. Set this to the first one, just initialize it to something. Float closest min health equals mathf.infinity. If damage states I.min health is less than health. See, I'm putting these spaces in that I don't really want. So if it's less than min health, I want to get the. I'll do it in a separate line. Say float difference is equal to health minus min health if difference is less than closest min health equals difference closest damage state is equal to damage states. Yep. So that's finding the closest one. Maybe I want to set damage state. Maybe I should make these separate. Say, select set damage state to take one of these. And find find desired damage state. Maybe not the best name in the world, but it's not too bad. I'm going to return this. I'm going to set that to that. And here, I'm going to loop through them all again. And if damage states, so if this one is equal to damage state, going to get its block graphics set active recursively true, else, well, you can do this a little nicer. Alright, so I'm going to set active recursively for every block graphics in set active recursively, block graphics in damage states, and I'm going to set it to whether or not the state is equal to the desired one. So if it's not, it'll be false. If it is, it'll be true, and that's the result that we want. Do a little quick null reference check. Dot log error damage state on object u dot get hierarchy transform any index does not have a block graphics game object set, and continue. That's the case. Continue. What that does in a loop is it says it's basically like you can put in, so continue. So okay, very easy to explain. Break first. Break, when you hit that, it says break out of the loop and continue on from here. Don't continue with the loop at all. Don't continue with any further lines in the current iteration of the loop, and don't continue with further iterations of the loop. Continue, on the other hand, is basically don't continue with this iteration of the loop. Go back up to here and continue on with the next iteration of the loop. So by putting continue, I know that I'm not going to get down to this line here, and I know I won't reference block graphics and won't have the null reference exception if it's null. So let's see what happens if I fix up my best overloaded method for block damage states and implied arguments. This is not returning what we need it to return. And object type available to block damage state require a return statement. Yes. Okay, so that's all done. That should all be good. Jump back in here. We have the issue now of our prefab being made, and it's, you know, it's fantastic. I'm going to apply that. Nope. Center it out. Apply. Save project. Delete that one. Now I'm lucky enough. Well, no, I'm not. So we can see here, I think Unity's done this in 3.5. I wasn't expecting this to happen because I had added a component, but I think what they've done is they've said you can add components, change components in a prefab. It will maintain the connection still. So now I've got two rigid bodies on the prefab, and I probably still can't revert them all. So let's still make the window. I'm going to duplicate space measure and call it prefab. Prefab utility. In theory, we will take this window and make it do more than what we're going to have it do for now. Problem with prefab utility, though, now that I think about it, I believe that was the name of yes, that's the name of this built-in Unity class. So we'll call it prefab utility window. Problem solved. Close that script and rename it here. Okay. Let's remove all of that. Custom prefab utility window. Create one of these windows. Get rid of all of that noise. This was there. So I'm not sure if this was one of those things where I was stuffing around with the script and I wasn't really thinking I was doing it in the project. I'm not sure if this was included in the video. It actually doesn't do anything. So I apologize if I've got some code in here that wasn't included in one of the videos, but it's irrelevant. It wasn't actually anything. I was just stuffing around for something else, and I happened to be using that script, and I think I saved some stuff, so I'm going to leave that in. So let's let's take that out. Anyway, I'll take all this stuff out. Yeah, I was looking at that space measure for a different project and adding some stuff to it, but I didn't really get very far. I didn't really want to do it at all after a bit, and then I'd originally been editing it from this project and saved it, but I think that's all. I know that's all that I was doing, so not an issue. Okay, prefab utility window. Let's make a button. What is a repeat button? Sometimes I see things and I wonder, yeah, where, when? That's what I wonder typically, when? Probably a long time ago. So you can jump into Unity scripting reference history and see what things have been added in what version. So doing a search for repeat, didn't find anything, which probably means it's either been in there for a while, they just haven't included it in this list. Make a button that is active as long as the user holds it down. Draws two buttons, one with an image, one with text. Print a message when they got clicked. Repeat button. Yeah. There's a few things in there. Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's tons of stuff in Unity that I'm sure nobody's used at all. Yeah, it's interesting sometimes. Sometimes you find things that are pretty cool. Alright, so what I want to do is revert selected prefabs. It's going to be pretty basic. So pretty basic little window method here. active game object is returning one thing. I want objects. I think I'll use get transforms. I can use get filter. I mean, I've used get filtered quite a lot, but I think there might be a quicker way of, an easier way of just getting selected objects in the scene. Let's see which one we want to do. Game objects is returns the actual game object selection. That's just stuff in the scene. When working with objects primarily in a scene, it's strongly recommended to selection.transforms instead. Okay, so that's good for scene objects. Alright. Let's use a for each. Transform in selection.transforms. Prefab utility. Get prefab parent. So object source, I'm guessing that means it can take probably any sort of component or anything, it will still work. So get prefab parent returns an object. Is that what we want? That's strange. I would have thought they would return a game object. Returns a game object. So it returns a game object, but returns, it says it returns a game object, but it returns actually a Unity object. So strange. We might just cast that straight up. I go back and forth on short game object variable names. Sometimes I use go. Sometimes I use gob like that. Get back on my equals null thing again, or not equals null. So if game object is not null, prefab utility dot revert prefab instance gob. Alright, let's see how hard this fails. Save our scene, bring up our new window. Select all of these and revert. Okay. Can't cast to prefab. It does say it returns a game object, a parent of source, or null if it can't be found. This also returns a prefab parent if the prefab has become disconnected, which can then be used to reconnect the prefab. Let's try passing in the game object itself, see if that makes a difference. Maybe I need to reopen that window. It's not giving me my error. Let's see. Block wood, choose a child, graphics. Right, that's not what we want. We wanted to return the parent. Get prefab parent, prefab object. What's the difference? Okay, we get our error. Find root game object with same parent prefab. It's a very, very long method name, but it does sound like it probably will do what we want. Blockwood. Yes, that works fine. Alright, so it seems like it's working, but the revert is not happening. Okay, resets the properties of all objects in the prefab, including child game objects and components that were added to the prefab instance. All overrides will be cleared. Okay, returns a bool. Returns a bool. Let's see what it's returning. Not sure what the bool refers to. True. What's happening here? It's removing. Ah, okay, it is working. It seems to be reordering them for some reason based on the number of components. Perhaps, or maybe it's just reordering them because they're being changed and they got the same name. So, okay, that seems to be working fine. Doesn't do children. So you want to, instead of doing that, I'm going to go through yes, let's make a the good thing about edit to window stuff is, as long as it's like, hit a button once something happens, as long as it's not a massive thing where you often do want to optimize quite a lot, so that a common operation that you have to do a lot of the time that will does a lot of stuff, you don't want to wait for an hour for it to do its thing. But for something like this, I'm not too concerned with massive amounts of optimization. So what I'm going to do is reverted prefab parents. Make a little list here. I'm going to run through reach transform child in transform. I'm going to find the root, and I'm going to say if gob and reverted prefab parents dot contains gob. So if that's false, do that, and then add it. Alright, so what this should do, if in theory, is it'll run through the child of every selected transform. It'll find the root game object of that child if it has one. Let's do this. Okay. So yeah, if it'll find the prefab parent, it will then go, if that thing's not null, and if this list does not contain that thing, revert the instance, and then if it I'm going to do it, actually I should have left my original ifs and I'll just put it back. Okay, so if it doesn't contain it, add it to the list. Right. So, okay, what that means is if there's a whole bunch of children in the prefab, it's going to go through each one of those in this loop, but it's only going to do the revert once per prefab, theoretically. Jump back into the scene, select fortress, hit the button. Get back here for each child and transform, debug.log child.name. This does not contain it, revert it, add it. This then contains it, shouldn't come back in here. Let's see. What do we got in the console? A whole bunch of block woods. Not tons though. Tell us how many selected. No. Let's have a look through here. There's a whole bunch that have been reverted, but then a bunch that haven't. There's 12 that haven't been reverted. That's weird. Let's see if we can just select one, revert, select one, revert. Yep, revert. Yeah, very strange. So if I just select them all and I'd like to just get this working. For each child in transform. For each transform in select transforms, not modifying. I'm going to use that there, and then child gets used just in these two spots. Let's get back to logging. That's not really going to help us. Alright. It's probably... I should I'll work on that window again later on, I think. For now it's just hard to tell what's going on. I've got too many prefabs. It's very difficult to test case for this window. It's obviously shown an issue with it, but resolving it just doesn't seem like fun right now. So all our stuff is reverted. We play this. That's cool. I forgot to set the damage state on initialize on startup. So what happens now is I'll just step through it. They all start black, and then as they fall and touch something, the damage state is set, so it happens like that. I'm going to want to exclude some sort of minimum amount, or not do the damage stuff for a few seconds or something. So if they do need to settle at the start, I don't want that to affect their health at all. So I'll do that in a minute as well. For now, let's jump into block and set their initial damage state. Length is greater than 0. Okay. Now, seems like when they die, they go back to their first. This one, I believe, would have been black at some point. Let's have a look at its health is 0, so let's fix that. So if min health is less than health, maybe I should also just do a if it equals the current health. That seems like it should be set to that one. Straight up return that one. Alright, so that seems to be working pretty much as we expected. At the moment I can just shoot as many bullets as I want, which is kind of cool. Oh no, I've lost everything. Yeah, okay, so that's cool. I mean, that seems to work. And what I can do now is, I've got those values in there. I might even leave it just like that.